Hey guys, how's it going and welcome to the Bina channel, and today I have my continuation from the previous video that I did. The last time I did my favorite JRPGs of all time, or just my favorite series that I enjoy and like, and today we're going to continue this video series with my favorite Western RPGs. Now, before we start this video, I want to do a huge shout out to two JRPG series that I didn't mention on my last video, and actually didn't just completely overlooked this series, even though I enjoy them and I love them a lot. And so as far as JRPGs, we're talking about the Souls games and the Pokemon games, because I actually enjoyed a whole lot of those two series, and for some reason when I was doing that video I just didn't think to add them or anything like that. So shout out to those two JRPG series. I really enjoy both of them, even though Soulsborne games are more on a different type of RPG style of gameplay, but they're still JRPGs nonetheless. So I did want to have that shout out before we start with the actual video. So let's go ahead and start with Western RPGs. And what I like about JRPGs versus Western RPGs is the style of them. I think Western RPGs tend to be more realistic fantasy in a sense. And it's kind of weird to say realistic fantasy. What does even that mean? I think in a sense they try to go a more realistic approach of fantasy, where deals with, even though JRPGs deal with really serious issues, a lot of them have that anime style to them. A lot of them have that more fantastical style to it, and Western RPGs tend to focus more on that gritty and more realistic looking style to them. So that thing, to me, that's what the major difference to them are. Even though a lot of them can be pretty silly in Western RPGs, the humor is completely different too. Obviously, being made for Western audiences, I can I guess correlate more to that Western humor. But yeah, let's go ahead and get started with this fantastic RPG series that I enjoy, and we're gonna start with the my newest addition to this list, and that's the Witcher series. So fun fact, the first Witcher game that I played was The Witcher 3, and I fell in love with the Witcher series from then on. I thought it was incredibly well detailed and written. All the characters were really interesting, and there's just so much about it that I really enjoyed that I had to go and play the other games. So it's kind of like, wow, how come I never played this series? And it was because it was on the Xbox and the PC, and at that time I only played PlayStation and Nintendo, so I would have never stumbled across these games until The Witcher 3, and I'm so happy and so glad that I was able to fall in love with this series. There is just so much about it that I like. The story, the lore in this series is just so interesting. The Witcher world is just full of fantastical creatures, and everything is just so well detailed. This series is so mature, and there's so much content to in the games that you can enjoy and everything. I went and looked up the books, and I started reading the books recently, so there is just so much stuff that I have fallen in love with the series so much. So I really wanted to start with this big opener, because to me, I'm so glad that I discovered this series and I was able to enjoy them a whole lot. I think fantastic series. So moving on to other stuff, another series that I've discovered over the years, Mass Effect is one of the other series that my friends just got me into them. My first Mass Effect game was actually Mass Effect 2, and I actually enjoyed that series a whole lot. Now, when I mean Mass Effect, I mean the trilogy 1, 2, and 3. 3 wasn't some stuff there that I really didn't enjoy, but overall I felt like this was an excellent series. The humor in these games are interesting. It's really funny, but it's really serious when it has to be serious, and the lore again is pretty interesting. Just the Mass Effect world's really good. Character development is a big one for me, and I think at the time, these series and the other series that I'm going to talk about next, the creators of these games are able to do such good character development. All the interactions with all the characters that you do, the characters that you date, everything that you do overall is just so well crafted. Character development of this series is so well made. There's one thing that I really love about the series, and the Dragon Age series, which is my next game that I want to talk about. There's so many lovable characters, so many interactions with all of them, and just fantastic. If there's one reason why to play these games, is because of the characters. I think even if Dragon Age, I don't like the stories as much. I think they can tend to be a little bit more on the cliche side. I really enjoy the character development in them. Even though the newest games in the series haven't been so good, like the new Mass Effect game and the new Dragon Age games that we had not that long ago, I think there are still pretty good games, and you can still get some pretty good stuff from it, especially from that character development side. So again, I really like this series, and in my mind I'm kind of like, how come I never played this series? They're just so good. I played them maybe about 5 or 6 years ago at this time, so before I didn't know them, I was kind of like, wow, they're so good, and I really just enjoyed all of them. So all of these series I strongly recommend. Moving on to the next one is gonna be Elder Scrolls, and particularly my first game again was not Skyrim, but it was Oblivion. So I really enjoyed Oblivion a lot. I was kind of like, wow, it's just the RPG aspects of it is just fantastic, and overall, I've seen how the games have evolved over time and everything, and it's just Elder Scrolls is one of those series that I just enjoyed for the combat, the gameplay style of it. Just the world itself is massive. At the time of Oblivion, it was massive. You know, it was so big, so much stuff to do, so much content to things to find. Definitely. Overall, they were massive games to me. I think I really was super shocked when I started playing these games. I really like the way that they do gameplay and everything. And my last series is of course Fallout 4. So you can see I have several Fallout 4 things on my background and everything. I really like this series, and it's because of the setting and the style of it. I really like that particular style they have. It's not steampunk per se, but it's kind of like their own 1960s futuristic style to them, like the power armors that they have, the weapons variety, the mini nukes, all this crazy stuff and everything. Just thinking of the world after a radiated nuclear wasteland that you get to experience and live on. This world is just so interesting. Again, character development is not as big for this kind of games, but you can still meet some really interesting characters. All the different creatures that have developed over this nuclear wasteland space and everything, they're just so interesting to look at and to fight against and everything like that. The gunplay isn't too good either. I think they're still kind of figuring that one out, but the BTAs, the BATS system is just so funny and cool. It's almost kind of like, to me, it's like the advancement of something like the original kind of like JRPG style of winning and fighting back and forth, but with new aspects to them and everything. So I really enjoyed that a lot. I think that this series is one of my favorite series out of the series that I talked about, and it's just because of the world setting. I just really like that world setting. Fallout 3, I really liked. Fallout New Vegas was slightly different, and I really liked that different on tone and the way that the gameplay was and everything. So overall, I want to say Fallout is a really good series. I really enjoy it a lot. Not a huge fan of Fallout 76 though, but the other Fallout games, I think I really enjoyed them a lot, including 4, even though, you know, some changes and everything. So yeah, that is pretty much my Western series. I know it was, I guess, a little typical in a sense. It wasn't super specifics. I do like games like Baldur's Gate and the Divinity Sin games that do enjoy that top-down Diablo style games as well, but I just want to talk about my favorite games and where I come from with them and everything. But what are your favorite Western RPGs? Let me know in the comments below. If you're new, please consider liking and subscribing. But that's it for today, guys. I'll see you next time.